So with all the hype around the Triangle Brea series, we really had to see, just I guess how good it really is.
Welcome to Hi-Fi. I'm Marcos, this is Kurt, and today we're reviewing the Triangle Brea br03s. The Borea br03s are $7.99 Canadian or around $5.99 American. The Triangle Brea br03 is a two-way bookshelf speaker featuring a 25mm soft dome tweeter and a 6.5-inch woofer, front ported, featuring 90 dB sensitivity, 4.2 to 8 ohm range, and a 90 watt rating. They're available in white, black, light oak, and also walnut.
Looks wise, these really remind me of a modern speaker, like modern finish with a traditional design, especially with this, this little cutout around here. It's a little bit classic looking. Also too, the white on the black, it just kind of makes all the elements of the speaker pop.
In terms of the looks, I actually really like the light oak finish of the Boreas because it kind of looks like there's two boxes. The front face is a different, more of a cream color with like almost a wood shell around it. And I think it looks really nice and clean and modern as well. In terms of setup, the Triangle Boreas are actually pretty flexible, especially since they're front ported. You can place them a little closer to the back wall. In the manual, we did notice they do recommend them to be 6 feet apart. So they are definitely made for maybe a little bit more of a distant listening position.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty nice and easy to set up. What do you think, Kurt?
Yeah, pretty much covered. You covered everything. It's quite an easy speaker to set up. The only thing that maybe is the toe-in. And toe-in, it's not too difficult in here. I see about 5 degrees. And just depending, of course, in relation to your sidewalls and stuff, will determine the optimal position.
If you want to learn more about fine-tuning your speaker setup, click on the link below. We have an awesome video on it.
This speaker really reminds me of a traditional French speaker. I used to work with, I used to distribute a company called BC Acoustic, which was one of their most probably the most biggest competitors back there in France. And it's always the same thing. They like everything. I'm not saying bright, but they do like the top end quite a bit present and a lot of energy in the top end. And this really reminded me along the lines of a lot of those speakers.
When it came to the bass with the Boreas, I did find it was really nice, impactful, pretty clean. When it came to sound staging, I would say it was pretty fair. It wasn't enormous, it wasn't overly deep, but it was enough to be able to easily spot all the instruments in the stage.
In terms of soundstage, just to give it a little bit more credit, is the accuracy of where everything is placed was, however, really good though.
When it came to performing our classic dB test with the Borea speakers, at around 60 dBs, normal conversation level, I did find they were really clean and articulate. You can really hear that upper end detail, no problem. But in the mid-range and in the bass section, they were a little bit less present than I would like. I would find myself maybe reaching for that volume knob to turn it up a little bit more.
At the higher volume, it's actually quite surprised me. They play louder than I thought. I think we kind of peaked at about, what was it,
86?
About 86 dBs, I say, would be the peak. Comfortably, you can run it around 83, 84 all day long with a full frequency track on there. I think overall performance-wise in the top end, it was a pleasant surprise.
When it came time to listening to the Borea bookshelves, we listened to a wide variety of music. The first song that we listened to was Jacob Carlson 3. The song was called Shine. This is a recent favorite of mine. I really like this song. I love all the cool staging effects that are happening in the song. And Jacob Carlson himself is quite the piano player. And I found the instruments were really nicely detailed. They're very clear. It was easy to spot them in the stage as well. And I did think overall the speakers did a really good job of portraying all the instruments.
When listening to this recording, you can tell the piano, it was supposed to be in the back, and the percussion, you have everything kind of in the front. And this did a really good job kind of separating the two, and you can hear distinguish in the layering and the effect they wanted to do in that mix. You know, excellent job in that aspect. One thing I did notice is, you know, the mid-range was a little bit recessed. So certain parts in the snare and stuff like that, you can hear it didn't pop as much as I think it should have. Overall on the song though, still did a really good job. And it'll be interesting to see in our measurements to see after where it kind of fit in.
The second song we listened to, which I found really shined on these speakers, is from Human Movement, the song called Athena. It's an upbeat dance tune, and I found on these speakers they did a really good job of keeping up with that pace and rhythm that the song had. I found that the fact that you can play these quite loud as well, as we discussed earlier, just helps feel that music a little bit better as well. Bass response with this speaker I found was pretty good actually with this kind of music.
Yeah, I really think that these speakers are made for that genre. Whether they're doing any kind of like EDM or this new pop mix between these genres, I really to me I think it really suited, because I think it plays it really well. And in this track where you have a lot of synthesized stuff, you have this synthesized sound in the middle, and then you can hear kind of like where everything is, and it just coupled up with the bass and the way the presentation of the speaker, it really, I think it really captures this kind of that kind of music to me. That's really what I think.
Yeah, I have to say these speakers do seem really well suited for like EDM or dance type music. That upper end presence that these have with the spatial effects really seals the deal.
So when it came down to our measurements, it kind of really aligned to what we were listening to. You know, I would say, of course, the extension of the bass, as you can see there, it's not going to extend as well, but it's not a fair comparison. Also, too, I did find kind of between the, you know, right when they're around that 2K mark, it starts to slowly be a little bit recessed in the mids, which I found probably, you know, in certain areas in that snare. But that's also what, to me, made the kind of where that French sound, where everything in the top seems a little bit more pop. Because when you look at it, the speakers, compared to especially to our reference, is definitely not bright. But when you take the mids and there's in our room was a little bit more recessed, it
definitely accentuates that top end. Sure.
It does. Yeah. So overall, I think it's in this case it's quite in line with our listening.
One thing that was pretty interesting in our measurements in that 50 to 80 hertz range is the bass was actually pretty accentuated, which kind of shows why I think we liked it with EDM music. When it came time to comparing the Triangle Brea bookshelf speakers to other speakers in the similar market, there's two speakers that we thought of in the exact same price range, around $800 Canadian, up to $1,000. The first speaker I thought of would be the Dali Oberon 3s. These speakers retail at $900 Canadian, around $600 USD. The Dali are quite a bit different than the Triangle, where they have a really nice strong bass response, I find. The mid-range is a little bit more present than the Triangle, but you don't get that upper end detail and presence that you would have out of the Triangle.
I pretty much agree with that. With the whole thing is definitely on the top end, because I think there's a lot more perceived perception of kind of detail in the Triangles. The Dalis though will it'll feel like more of that more dynamic kind of sounding speaker. So it just really depends on what you prefer at the end of the day.
The second speaker would be the KEF UniQ 150. With the KEF UniQ, I do find the coherence of the speaker is a lot better over the whole frequency range. But one thing I found about the triangles that I like quite a bit is just the clarity on that top end. The fact that they stage quite well, like you could really pinpoint everything. Another thing to note is with the KEFs, they're a little bit more picky when it comes to placement and positioning, where the triangles, especially being front ported, they're a little bit more flexible for many different kinds of rooms.
I don't know. To me though, I would say the 150s, I would say pinpoint wise for imaging, I would actually probably give it to the KEF. Maybe, you know what, it's been a while since I think either one of us listened to it, so it's kind of hard to say. But I think in that regard, I think maybe what it is, maybe it's just the top end perception of that quickness that you talked about. Maybe seems a little bit more pinpoint. But so between the two, yeah, this will sound like that little bit more quicker speaker. That little, like it's just faster. There's more air and open in the top end. And however, that KEF is slightly, because of that coherency that you mentioned, it's gonna sound a little bit more refined and a little bit smoother across the whole frequency response.
We really recommend the Triangle Boreas for a small to medium sized room. If you want to get a nice fuller range sound, adding a subwoofer would help it a lot. The Boreas do feature a nice modern and clean design, so they integrate really well in today's modern homes.
So in terms of matching this with other equipment, I would say something that's really quick, really quite lean. So say a good one would be the NAD, either that 3020 or that 3040, which is that small little desktop one, would match quite well, and at the right price point. Or even the Blue Sound Power Node, or the 368 in that series would match quite well with this. And there's a lot of really good affordable one through Marantz, Cambridge Audio, like the AX series. And I would also suggest too that, just to give it a try, I don't know the model numbers off the top of my head, but even some of the entry from Cayenne through Prima Luna or any of the tube amps. And the reason why is because I've heard it, and these speakers, just the way they're so easy to drive, and they kind of bring out a little more lush in that mids, and it actually they sound really good with a lot of those tube amps.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.